In this short tutorial, I like to show you how you could quickly build up the run cycle of this character. Right. First thing first. So I built this ground and put it into a layer, and actually I locked it. And make sure that I think if you're like Maya crashes quite often, make sure that you set project first, right? You should do that, and then I think your file, your scene will become a little more stabilized. Okay, so you should do that first, and after you've done that, maybe right in the first frame, maybe your character should pose, right? Your character must be in some kind of context. No character should standing like in a neutral pose. If you think about yourself, I mean, how many times of the day you stand like in a complete neutral pose? Probably almost never, right? So unless you take some kind of yoga class or something. So I just add that, and then make sure that this is not balanced, right? If you see it, so I'm going to make it in a balance from all angles, maybe also should be right, and make sure that it's in the balance. And then what I do is I'm not going to use this placement control on the bottom. This is placement control. I'm not going to use that to animate, and I'm just going to grab all other controls though, and then set the keyframe on frame 1, and then I'm going to move to frame 7, and then so this is a little different from what I did in Photoshop, but this is pretty much the basement. Based on this, I'm going to build up the animation, so it doesn't have to be exactly the same, right? Obviously I will find something new, and the 2D and 3D is different. So I'm going to do this anticipation here. So I go to the frame 7. It doesn't have to be exactly frame 7. So this is like a sort of, you can think it, and I'm going to switch this one to world from to object, so I can move things in its local axis now. And this one also maybe do that. And like sit more. So preparing to run all the sorry about the noise. Whoa. And this one maybe I'll change it to object, this rotation axis of the, so, and then maybe I will, just for fun, maybe I will lift this leg slightly. Or maybe not, because then if I lift it, then I will probably have to add another key pose there, right? So it's going to push. It's going to push with the right leg. And for now, so I'm going to set up the keyframe on frame 7 for all the controls, and then I'm going to see what I did in Photoshop again. So after that, the next keyframe, this one is I just added passing pose, but this one would be like the next key pose would be this key pose. So I may be missing some like pushing like a pose, but we can add later on. So so I'm going to move this character first in the air, like I'm going to move it, oops, not this one, but this control. So if you select the 4 controls here, the bottom one and top one and the both legs, I mean both hips, oops, and now I have to change this one to a world x-axis orientation. I'm going to move this one. Otherwise, if you set it to local, then it's gonna go each directions. So for that, to prevent that, so I change it to world again. For this one, to make it easy, I'm going to type 0 on the rotational x-axis value. Alright, and I'm going to, so just like running, this leg should be kind of spread to both either direction. And maybe for this guy, for this character, it's in too high in the air. So this wouldn't really, it's just kind of like, so we definitely need that passing pose, right, later on. But for now, I just want to keep going. So I'm going to select all the controls once again, except the placement control, and set up the key there. And then going to go to this frame 15. Oops. So I just have to select these ones. So I'm going to make it length. Oh yeah, okay. And but maybe it's like flower sack. I'm going to make it length like on a sort of okay. And I'm going to move to this side, and I'm going to rotate this one a little slightly up, because this leg is getting all the weight, and usually for that side the hips go up to support the all the the body structure from all the weight coming down to that part of the leg. And this one, maybe I can do it coming down, because that's what I did in Photoshop. Alright, so I'm going to grab all the keyframe, all the controls, and then set up the key. So I'm going to see. So maybe it's kind of slow, and I definitely need that pushing push, but I'm going to get to that later. And for now, I'm going to make it a little faster. Make it go a little faster. Oh, and the other thing I'll do is I will definitely need it to hold the frames here a little bit longer for the anticipations. So there's a no moving hold, as I told you before, but I also do that a little later. Okay. And the next, I'm going to make it in the air again, more or less here. And also I'm going to type 0 on the rotation value, so make it a little easier to see. Okay, and this one, that was before left leg was to the front. Excuse me. And this time, left leg back. Alright, so, and again, maybe this is a little too high for flower sack. And we can adjust all others like heights to make it consistent, kinda, more or less. It shouldn't be exactly the same like a robot, but like the height of jumping. So this one is higher, much higher. I'm going to lower that, and this one also. And I'm going to make it stretch it either side a little bit more. Right, and I want to see it. Okay. So if I see that, this is a little bit high, and I want to make this part a little bit stretchy, but this one lowering a little bit. and this one going backwards slightly, and maybe I'm going to twist it slightly this way. So because this leg is coming forward, rotate to the back front, so I'm going to rotate this one a little bit, but we can do all of that later on also. But just and this one also, like backwards a little bit. Okay, so the basics kind of there. And then, before I go to our next part, I'm going to grab all the controls and then set up the keys there. And then do this one again. The next step, it's gonna land on the floor. Again, I'm going to make this rotation value to 0, so I don't have to rotate. So to make it easier, right? But for me, this way is easier. But for you, I don't know. So you should find the the best way for you. And maybe still slightly backwards. Don't worry about making, maybe this is not going to work, or maybe I'm making mistake. Don't worry about it, because we can always change. Nothing to really worry about. Okay, so I'm just going to grab all the things and set up the key. So I'm going to see. So I'm going to hide the controls, but I'm going to turn off this P on the control layer. So what it's gonna do is, if you turn that off, when you play back, it's not going to show you the controls. There's something, the hit key, some kind of like what was that? I don't know what's happening here, but I think it's just some Maya things. Let's see. Okay, so as long as you save it, and then I think it's gonna go away if you open up the Maya again. Okay, so if it happens to you, don't worry about it too much, just save the file first. So, and then I'm going to keep working on this, right? The next one will be adding a little more details on this. Okay,